2025 meeting of the Board of Health, special meeting of the Board of Health to order. First item on the agenda is a roll call order and call to order and roll call.
Still.
She's gonna be a little late, sounds like. So
We have to wait.
No, we have enough.
Wait, before enough? I thought that was.
I asked Jenny and she said 4.
Oh, we have 7 board members and 4. But we technically have 9.
supposed to have nine.
Supposed to have 9.
But because we don't have those two, we go by the number, we do have to see some do that bill.
But we'll fudge the minutes. How about that?
That's not on the record. I don't agree with that.
It was just a joke.
I can't remember what Marcel said about that. But I always thought it,
He said it's 4.
Okay. Did Marcel said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we go by what the board attorney says.
are you sure of that? Or should I text him?
You can text them.
Not that it matters, but
No.
it's not a big deal.
Still something.
Just have to make sure she votes.
Okay, well, either way, I'll get going. So, next item on the agenda is new business. Discussion of vote. There she comes.
Thank you.
Great.
Nothing substantive happened yet.
Now we have, we're just gonna call.
I wrote it down.
You got it, okay, all right,
Thank you.
okay, great. So item 25-13, discussion about budget, Assistant Director of Finance.
Regarding that budget form B, we are using the unfilled and positions we do not plan to fill of the 2 vacant environmental health specialists. We did already use some of that salary for the environmental health coordinators that we approved recently. So there is still some unspent funds available to remain budget neutral, so we're not increasing our 2025 budget at all. And the salary was set between Mike and Dr. Migliori, and I'm going to assume Dr. Pishokum as well. But it is a budget neutral transaction.
So this is a brand new position.
Brand new.
Okay, and that was my big question. So,
And that was the job description. Right, at the February board.
yeah.
But my question is, I just want to make sure, there are a couple versions that were sent to us. And I just wanted to make sure, is this, it should say at the top Form B. I have Form C. Okay, that's
Here, I
the
have-
correct one.
Oh,
Form
okay.
B is the correct one. Okay, thank
Do
you.
you have an extra one?
I do.
Is that
Actually,
actually?
Mike made these.
Thank you.
Each one of the budgets that we are discussing today should say Form B at the time. Okay, wait, this is just the
Why?
assistant director, because I messed up.
We don't need this.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if we're gonna come back to that. or-
No. Oh, thank you. That's out. That's what we need, right? That's out.
You have a,
Okay, wait, this is assistant director.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did have that one as well.
These are all.
so this is
The new packet.
okay. So this is not.
This is the Assistant Director of Finance.
Okay. Am I leaving assistant director of nursing and assistant? So that's assistant director of finance. Okay. And they need to be.
Same as this, just says you.
Yeah, you can have
I
it.
do not have
So, it looks like Form B and Form C. It's just the forms from the auditor's office. This is going to be an inline transfer, and Form C was an out-of-line transfer, which is not correct, because both of the accounts start with the number 1, so it's an inline transfer. Okay, so it's pretty much, it's gonna look exactly the same, it's just what it's called at the top corner. Okay, so Form B is what we're gonna wanna look at for all of the budgets that we're going to discuss. Okay, so the proposed salary is $65,750 for assistant director of finance. And that's coming from, is it 2 environmental health specialist positions? There's 1.
Yeah.
Well, we have two vacant.
Two vacant.
Correct. With the two vacant EHS positions that we have, including all of the benefits, we have over $173,000 available.
Okay.
We used, probably around 4,500 of that for the EHS coordinators. So the rest is still available for us to use and still remain budget neutral.
Okay. So this assistant director of finance, it's just, this is the salary and then benefits?
Well, benefits are already in the budget because of the, EHS positions.
Oh, okay, so same number of positions.
So
Okay,
does that then wipe out those allocated funds and just redirect some?
Correct. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave in, I'm not gonna move any FICA and PERF because we still need that for these positions.
Okay.
It's just taking the salary of the EHS positions and then one unfilled health insurance.
Okay.
Because once we get to the assistant director of nursing, their health insurance will be grant funded. Oh, because right now we have budgeted for 2 EHSs to have health insurance. We're only gonna need the assistant director of finance to have it.
okay,
So that frees up some more money.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, okay, how much is an environmental health specialist fee?
57,330.
Okay, okay, so this is like one salary plus you took a little more from the other, the other open environmental health. Yeah.
Right. We had just in salary between the 2 EHS vacant positions, it was over 114,000. And then we used 4,410 for the EHS coordinators. And now we're gonna use 65,750 proposed for the assistant director of finance. So just in salary alone, we still have a balance of 44,500 to be budget neutral. Okay. Which will then tie into the assistant director of nursing that we'll discuss in the next item.
Are the two positions not presently filled intended to stay in, not the budget, or eliminated?
We plan on eliminating those positions altogether.
Okay, so not.
They have not been filled this year. We don't have the need to currently fill them, so we don't plan on needing those positions in the future, but.
And that's due to the, because no longer,
Legislative changes?
no longer,
That was huge. One position was the property transfer EHS that was approved for the 2025 budget, and since that law took effect, we don't need a person to do that. And then having one unfilled position once Brett moved to the Vector program and EHS moved up to assistant, we're not backfilling that EHS position.
I'm confident we might be another environmental health specialist. And a year or so ago, we got a lot of comments about things are slow, things are moving quickly enough for the market out there. Based on Brett moving and then.
I think we'll be fine. A lot of time was used on the property transfer program, and since that's not required anymore, there's a lightens the burden quite a bit.
Having gone through budget process a number of times with county commissioners, there was always a reluctance to eliminate positions, even if they weren't filled. Because one, you never knew when there was going to be a need to fill them. But also it showed, on one hand, they were happy that they didn't need it, but they took the money and spread it somewhere else. On the other hand, it was good to safeguard the money and not use it pending what you foresee the next emerging issue facing. So it's since on one hand happy on the other, you're looking good by not needing it. On the other hand, if you need it, are you going to be able to get it back? And that usually takes a year to get back, and you're going to use you need it for some other purpose. So I'm always reluctant to give up positions even if they're not filled, just to hold the spot until we.
The other option would be to amend the budget. Because they have to
we would have to do, it'd be a different form, it'd be an additional appropriation. And and Mike can speak on this because he was present at the council meeting when we were presenting for the EHS coordinators and it wasn't clear that it was budget neutral, they're not in favor of making any budget changes since the budget literally just took effect. So knowing the questions that will be asked, I think it would be better to go through these two budgets and get the personnel we need. And if in a year or two we do need those, we have HFI funding that we could put them under and use those funding. But this way we're not having budgeted money sit unspent when we do need these two positions.
Well, and the assistant director of finance, do you expect that eventually, if this person ends up being director of finance, that eventually that assistant director position will go away and when something else might be needed?
I don't think so because honestly, I am busy 10 hours in a day just doing finance. I'm not doing the APRA, I'm not doing the fleet, I'm not doing the billing. I think some type of position is still going to be needed. Does it have to be at that level of an assistant? Maybe not. But one person can't do all of finance that I'm doing plus those other duties. There's just not enough hours in a day.
Plus you're also trying to prove this position to actually generate more revenue because that person's going to be
Doing all
doing the secondary billing.
So there's revenue that we haven't been capturing by being able to bill for some of our vaccinations. So the VaxCare that we have now, that software will only bill a primary insurance. It won't bill a secondary. The other thing that we're going to try and capture is being able to bill for lead testing because we haven't been doing that. And I think that there's going to be opportunity to potentially bill for some of our CHW services. So we're just looking for ways to, and we did have a part-time biller before Carol was the manual billing, but so I think there's opportunities to, because there just wasn't an awareness or people weren't thinking about trying to collect that revenue, and we just need to be at the top of the game.
On ball and focus on.
And they may pay for themselves after, depending on, because vaccines are very expensive, so to get recruiting that, that's quite
And then also consolidating our software, because right now we have 3 softwares where one has the potential to do what all 3. People just did individual softwares, like, okay, this is my vaccine biller, this is my, EMR, electronic medical record, this is my online scheduler, whereas the EMR will do scheduling, billing, and, medical records. So we're just trying to consolidate and,
how long will that process take to consolidate the software? Do you have somebody to do it? Or
well, I don't think it'll be horrible. I mean, whenever you make a change, there's always a lot of groaning. I'm probably the loudest groaner from that, and I want everything done, last week. So, hopefully sometime by the end of the year.
Is it somebody from the house? Is it the assistant director of finance? Or is that?
Oh,
They may be a joint effort.
Okay.
It'll probably be everybody rolling up their sleeves.
So those additional funds,
Keep that off the middle.
That,
does that go into the health service fund somewhere, or does that go into the general fund?
none of our money goes to the general fund. Everything we generate stays within the Department of Health since we have our own fund number. So any revenue that is generated, through vaccine billing, it would, depending on how the funds are received, most are received through EFT now. So that just comes in, Jenny adds it to the report of collections that the nursing unit took in $7,000, in vaccines, and it just gets added to that, and it just goes to our fund balance until we need to use that money. It's not like, okay, we got $7,000 in vaccines, now we get to spend 7,000. We would have to go through the appropriation phase to put that money back into that account. But yeah, everything comes to us as our fund balance.
I guess I was going to, if you do have that revenue, then that's what we're trying to also, we should ask for another position or another half position.
Yeah, we can be able to demonstrate how much revenue having that position has generated.
I think just from our last meeting, another reason we need this position is to help bring the end of fund is creating a lot of additional support. Okay, so that's going away.
It just sounds like it's gonna be slightly reduced as it's right now.
We have 16 programs and they're all, we have to give detailed invoicing that she has to, it's a lot.
But if it did go away, then maybe you have excess capacity there. Any other comments or questions on the first item?
I mean, it seems like we need this position in order to plan ahead for smooth transitions.
That's not gonna happen for a really, really long time.
Hearing none, I entertain a motion.
I will move to, what do we need to accept, to,
Approve the
approve the budget transfer? Oh, budget, the budget for, 2513. Second.
Any, motion is second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, 2514, discussion of both job description and budget. Assistant Director of Nursing.
So this is Form B that we still have.
Correct.
So that's this description and this 64 one.
So, I'm trying to remember, so we don't have an assistant director of nursing right now?
No.
Okay, and is this effectively gonna be, if we're budgeting for an entirely new position, is this an entirely new position?
It is, but we are, so the situation is that we had what I was explaining to some people earlier. We had a person who was, the,
Immunization outreach
Yeah.
coordinator.
the coordinator for mobile immunization.
Was that a nurse?
No, it was not. And so she had to do the outreach and scheduling for mobile clinics, and she's not unhappy with her job here. She just decided that I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, sort of thing. So she turned in her notice a week ago, so she got another week. And we decided this is an opportunity to consolidate some positions, her position, and director of nursing responsibility. So the assistant director of nursing would help to schedule the mobile clinic. So we're using that salary to come over and help move up to the nursing, the assistant director of nursing, using leftover money from the EHS position to combine with it to get an assistant director.
What's the total? It's
Mhm.
not used to, so 78,000.
So, the immunization outreach coordinator, was she full time? Because this doesn't look like a full time salary.
That's just what's left in this grant cycle.
Oh,
The grant cycle will expire June 30th, and then we will reapply for the next grant, which I think it's coming soon, so we'll probably be coming to the board for a request to apply
so
for
one
the
of
next
the
grant.
kind of standard state grants.
Yes, we've had it for at least a decade, and it's
Okay.
kind of routine. I mean, we still have to apply for it and go through the RFP process. But that's just what's left between now, or between Emily's last day and the end of this grant cycle. So I am expecting, you know, to be able to use more grant funds towards the assistant director of nursing. That way we won't have to use as much of our county health funds, but not knowing how much we are gonna get with the grant. I just wanted to play it safe and said, okay, between now and June 30th, we have $14,000 that we can put towards the salary of an assistant director of nursing. So then the county health department will pick up the rest.
Okay, so you have maybe $20,000 or?
Well, the salary, I believe, for this year for that position, I believe is $56,000.
Okay, okay. So you have. 27. Okay, so you, presuming that we get the grant, and correct, we probably have $27,000
For the next,
for
for the last 6
for the
months.
last 6 months.
Yes.
Okay, so realistically, we're only gonna be taking a small amount out of this, a much smaller amount, like 12,000 out of this environmental health specialist.
Right.
To actually, is actually gonna go through the salary, which I'm guessing is probably not quite, but I mean, it's probably covering a fair cost of the difference between that salary.
Right, when we find out what we are approved for with the immunization grant budget, I will budget for that full amount, but of course it'll go under assistant director of nursing. And then we will have the extra money in our county health budget, it just won't be spent until it's needed to be spent. We will utilize everything in the grant first from now until June 30th and then the next grant cycle.
Okay.
So when funds start to run out, that's when we will just transfer that position to be paid from the county health fund.
So, because a nurse, I mean, assistant director costs more, but a nurse costs more. Do you think it will be beneficial to have an extra action, like licensed nurse on staff?
Yes.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do with all of the units is encourage cross-training so that we can slide, and if you have that license ability, you've got somebody that can help with immunizations, can help with public nursing in terms of, you know, phone calls, can help back up the school, health liaison, back up your director of nursing. And again, all of our units, environmental, we're meeting with them regularly and, you know, focusing on cross training so that people can cover for each other. And foods, some of the environmental people want to learn some of the foods stuff. So the more cross trained people are, the stronger the department will be, I think.
How many people make up the nursing division?
There's about 11 to a dozen.
And that includes the director, and then this will be an assistant director. And they're servicing county population of what? What you guess?
The county's about 2. Yeah.
County population.
Yeah, 274.
If you were looking at Elkhart, what would be their nurse to population ratio?
Maybe less, I'm guessing. I don't know that, but I'm guessing it would be a little bit less.
They used to,
Their health department's smaller. And I don't think they do, like, we have a robust lead program, radon program, environment vector. We have a lot of really strong programs that we run, and St. Joseph County is unusual. We're the only county in the state that does great on testing. We're probably the premier lead testing program in the state. We do a lot of outreach in terms of, the immunizations, doing mobile clinics. The school health liaison has 100 schools to,
So
so that the assistant director of nursing would back up the school health.
fortunately, are we above where we should be? Are we where we should be? Or are we below where we should be in terms of nursing services?
I don't know. I do know that they do a lot of community outreach. Like they go to nursing homes and vaccinate against flu and COVID to the patients that want it, because a lot of nursing homes don't have the staff to give injections in addition to taking care of the people that are in the nursing home.
So, given similar counties of our size, 270, we have 12 nurses.
Well, actual nurses, we don't have 12 actual nurses.
No, we don't.
We have 17 staff in the nursing unit, and I believe probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 4 of those are part-time.
Part-time is 2 days a week,
Yeah, that also in Mishawaka.
Nursing, disease investigation specialists.
Yep.
I mean, we've got a couple administrative staff. Medical assistants.
We have medical assistants that both run the clinic upstairs. The other thing is we have Mishawaka has a separate office, and we have 2 part-time nurses there. One works 2 days a week, one works 3 days a week doing immunizations. But they're the only nurse. That's 2 nurses, but it's one position that does all the immunizations over there.
So is our nursing division something that we should be attempting to add more nurses? And so it's sort of like the school problem with we have so many nurses for so many 50,000 kids. So proportionally, do we have enough nursing services by RNs or LPNs to cover the needs of the county?
For the programming we're doing right now, I think the answer is yes. But I do think that they're stretched thin, and it would be nice to have another nurse to help backfill when with some of the PTO things, people are taking off more time now because they've got too much PTO built up, and they need to, take time off during the week, and so we need to be able to backfill those.
So when we go to the budget process in the summer, do we have justification for asking for more nurses in terms of our needs? Setting up the battle with the finance.
Well, we did just put into HFI for 2024 one of the public health nurses, and with having done that, we were able to take back all the cases from like the State Department of Health, which was a huge thing that we, wanted to do. So
If we wanted to expand our services to take back things like STIs, we would have to have more staff. But I don't think that we have the physical space to do that, or the people power to do that. But this position here was, in a sense, add one to help backfill a cover and sort of be
Or working supervisor.
a working supervisor,
Someone that,
because they're licensed.
because then as the structure is right now, the only person that's really in the command position is the director themselves, and they're spread out. There's 5 different pieces that are going into the nursing unit. So they're spread out trying to cover all of those, making sure that they're working together well and they're fine. And I think that they do function well overall, but having a working supervisor who can be boots on the ground in the clinics as they're needed and be in charge of it and improve some of the efficiencies and workflows of the department by being directly involved. I think as it is right now, it's difficult. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's difficult for the director to get. She has a lot to put her arms around, and this will allow another person who's in those flows all the time to very directly be able to impact the flows for the better.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but every other department that has like more than one person in it has a director and an assistant director. Right?
Correct.
Okay, I think I was surprised that we didn't have an assistant
This
director.
person's gonna be like a rover, a working supervisor.
Okay, yeah, but that's how we're structured in all of the other units.
And
Anyway,
and when the immunization coordinator decided to turn in her resignation, it was actually Mike's idea. It's like, this is a perfect opportunity to get another licensed nurse in the department to be a working supervisor.
so but then it seems like the issue might not necessarily be so much whether this position is adding more nurses than we need, because we do need an assistant director. It would probably be more the question of, well, we have an assistant director who, of course, we need to have a nurse. So the question then is, and that functionally takes an extra position. So the question is more just regular staff nurses, and you need that much manpower. And maybe that's more flexible because you could do an extra part-time or keep a full-time, but maybe you just need part-time, but I don't know. I mean, obviously you could do better, but it seems like it's more, you need this position. But some of the questions are kind of, I guess, especially if you're bringing somebody up through the ranks to promoting somebody essentially for that position. The question is what you do about it in the open position that might develop. If perchance you were promoted.
I don't think we are.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now, the part-time nurses are all for what they need to have their work-life balance, and for them, the part-time positions are going to work for them. That's all we really are looking for. Of the other nurses, we don't think anyone is in a position to. There's a couple people who might be looking at retirement in the next couple of years. They don't appear to be looking for more responsibility at this point. They're pretty well set in their positions. So we think we will have to go outside for the position. We were tossing the idea around as something to add in the 2026 budget with this position. It just, like Dr. McGilvery said, unfortunately, we're losing a staff member who we hope to expand her position to just take on some more responsibility. She kind of really takes the that and decided to kind of want to do something else. So we're just taking, we're wishing her very well. She's definitely not leaving on poor terms in any way, shape, or form, but it definitely became a possibility to maybe do something sooner than wait for an entire year.
Yeah, it makes sense. We need somebody, and now we can kind of fill the people with one stone, we have the funding.
Yeah.
So it's almost a no-brainer.
Last question. What is the starting salary for a health department nurse?
66, 67, I think.
What is it if someone was going to work at weekend or St. Joe?
Oh, I have no idea. A lot more. Mike used to manage a couple offices with nurses.
Yeah,
So there's still a gap.
there is. And part of the reason of putting it at 78 is we're hoping to close that gap in a reasonable amount so that we can be competitive enough to find someone that's a good quality patient flow, but also have some of a balance of administrative versus patient work.
What's the director's salary?
Just over 91,000.
So with that said, if we were able to attract a higher qualified candidate for nursing position, are we of the substance to offer that person more money, or do they come in with a base salary?
At this point, we were looking at the base salary that's of 78,847. So just a little shy of 79.
And you think that that's,
I think that can be fairly competitive. I think there's a lot of nurses that are out there that are burned out. Working for the hospitals is not easy. I think even just working in medical practice is fast paced. We present no weekends, no evenings. There's very little call unless there's a public health emergency. Hope to God there isn't in the near future. I think also the county benefits are attractive. I think there's a lot here having a good staff. Ashley has done an outstanding job as a director of nursing. I think she would be a very valuable colleague. We have good staff. I think there's an awful lot here to attract somebody.
What's the regular full-time nurse salary again?
Just over 66.
Okay. And so, okay, and like the kind of the ratio between director and assistant director salary.
It's
Is it
close to
the same?
91%. The assistant director is 91%. This one is actually a bit lower than that. That's around, correct, I think it's around 86%. So it is just a little bit
Then the
lower.
other, so
Right.
even though it's a higher actual salary
Right.
than the other assistant directors, the big portion.
Right.
Okay.
Tried to make it budget friendly at the same time.
Yeah,
But still competitive enough, we hope, but still it's paying attention to the bottom line.
no, but I mean, in a way, if you're approaching the situation why you get that salary, you're actually, it's a little relatively cheaper, I guess, in the sense that the other assistant directors are making a higher percentage of what the director makes than what's going on here. Because you really need to be fair, as you should be offering $1,000. If you don't have the money, that's okay. But maybe that's the other one. Maybe it means that if you feel that well, if you do that, we have to come gather together again to do a salary amendment. And just keep that in mind. I mean, we can always go higher, but that requires board approval and a whole new salary amendment to raise that salary. I mean, I think the fact that it's budget neutral right now, so it starts the budget year. We're gonna start discussing the 26 budget in probably a month or two.
Any projections? Oh, sorry, next question. Any projections on what the state is doing with anything?
we're still, so it looks like the last word is, it looks like the HFI funding will stay for the next 2 years because it's a 2-year cycle. The first 2 years they gave out 150 million total. The next 2 years they're talking about 100 million total. So it would mean that you're still getting money, but it would be, and it's doled out proportionate to the size of your county.
So this 2-year cycle, we didn't get equal amounts each year. So this next 2-year cycle, are they gonna divide the money up over evenly from year to year?
I don't know if I've heard one way or the other. I I would assume it would be even, because I think the first year was kind of like the startup year, because it was pretty close to half of what we got in 25. I would assume that it would come evenly in years 3 and 4.
So, do you expect something similar to what we got in 2024? Would be the route number we could
I think a little more than
Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, because I think it was, I don't remember overall what it was for that first year. Because the first year we got, I think, around $3.2 million for our in funding.
Okay.
and this year we said
Over 6.
something, yeah. So hopefully it's only 2/3 of 6, so about 4.
Alright, but we still have a lot of cushion because it, I think you put money aside,
We have a lot of, right, a lot of funds are gonna be unspent. Even last year, we had a lot of funds unspent. And we are, trying to have reserve because we are having quite a few grants or other funding sources sunset this year. So we're going to have to offload those staff, pretty much like the whole peer program is gonna have to move to HFI funding. I mean, there's a lot that we're losing at some point this year. The Vector program is using the previous legacy funding. We're utilizing all of that funding. Once that's done, they're moving to HFI. So we have to be very intentional on how we're budgeting because we still need to keep room for these programs that are sunsetting so we can continue those after those funds are exhausted. It's a balancing.
All right, any other comments? Questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to pass like 2514. A second.
Thank you. A second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, public comment. Hopefully we have anybody saying that. All right. Next, time and place of the next regular meeting, March 19th, 4:30, court 4. With that, we are
Thank you
adjourned.
very much.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming in.
Appreciate you.